When most of us think about who owns the companies we interact with every day, we picture the brands themselves, the corner grocery, the coffee shop, or even the software we use to manage our work. These feel independent, familiar, and, in some ways, untouchable. But the truth is far more unsettling. Behind the scenes, a small group of investors, private equity firms, are quietly buying up the economy, reshaping industries, and, in many ways, owning much more of your life than you realize. Private equity is not new. The firms have been around for decades, quietly acquiring companies, improving efficiencies, and selling them for profit. But over the last 20 years, their reach has exploded. From restaurants to healthcare, from software to retail, private equity firms have moved from the shadows to controlling the businesses you interact with daily. And for the average consumer, the impact is subtle but profound. So, how does it work? At its core, private equity is simple. Firms pool capital from wealthy investors, pension funds, and institutions to buy companies. Unlike the stock market, where you might own a tiny fraction of a publicly traded company, private equity firms buy entire companies outright, or at least a controlling stake. Once they own a company, they restructure it, often cutting costs, streamlining operations, and sometimes layering it with debt. The goal is straightforward: increase the company's value, then sell it at a significant profit. This process might sound harmless, or even smart business, but the effects on everyday people can be dramatic. Employees often face layoffs or pay cuts, while essential services become more expensive as firms push to maximize returns. And it's not just small businesses that are affected. Some of the biggest names in retail, healthcare, and entertainment are now under private equity control. Take, for example, the healthcare sector. In the last decade, private equity has poured billions into hospitals, nursing homes, and urgent care centers. On the surface, this seems like an infusion of capital, better equipment, improved facilities, and new management. But studies show that private equity ownership often prioritizes short-term profits over patient care. Nursing homes under private equity management have been found to cut staff, reduce hours, and even compromise care to meet aggressive financial targets. In other words, a system designed to help people is being optimized for investor returns. Restaurants and food chains are another area where private equity has quietly taken control. Brands you know and trust may appear unchanged, but the ownership behind the scenes is shifting. Private equity firms often buy multiple chains, consolidate supply chains, and push for aggressive expansion. The result? Uniformity in offerings, cost-cutting measures that affect quality, and, again, pressure on staff. And when the company is eventually sold or taken public, the process repeats, leaving little trace of the original brand identity. Even the tech world is not immune. Software, apps, and platforms you use daily, whether for work or leisure, can be owned by private equity firms. Their strategy often revolves around making the platform profitable quickly, sometimes at the cost of user experience or innovation. They're not in it to nurture long-term growth or community. They're in it to flip the company for a profit. And it's not only that these firms are buying companies, they are buying scale and influence. By controlling multiple businesses in an industry, private equity firms can exert enormous leverage. They can dictate pricing, control distribution networks, and even influence regulatory lobbying. Essentially, a handful of private equity firms are quietly shaping the market in ways most consumers never see or understand. According to industry reports, private equity firms now hold stakes in tens of thousands of companies worldwide. In the US alone, more than half of the companies in the S&P 500 have private equity involvement, either through ownership, management, or influence. And the consequences aren't just economic, they're personal. As private equity continues to expand, it affects everything from the prices you pay at the grocery store to the quality of care in hospitals, the stability of your job, and the options you have as a consumer. It's a subtle but profound shift in the way capitalism operates. What once felt like a diverse market of independent companies is increasingly concentrated in the hands of a few powerful investors. Understanding this shift is crucial because the more we recognize the influence of private equity, the more we can make informed choices as consumers, employees, and investors. And while it may feel like this is all out of our hand, knowledge is the first step to reclaiming some control. Beyond healthcare, restaurants, and tech, private equity's reach extends to housing, essential services, and even education. One of the most striking examples is the housing market. Over the past decade, private equity firms have purchased thousands of single-family homes, turning them into rental properties. They aren't just buying a few houses here and there, they're buying entire neighborhoods. What does this mean for the average homebuyer? It means higher rents and fewer opportunities to purchase a home. Instead of competing with another family, you're competing with a firm backed by billions of dollars, capable of paying cash in a matter of hours. These companies often implement strict rental policies, increase rents annually, and prioritize profit over tenant stability. The American dream of homeownership is quietly slipping out of reach, not just because of housing shortages or inflation, but because private equity sees homes as high-return investments. And it doesn't stop there. Everyday products and services, the things we think of as stable, familiar, and local, are increasingly under private equity control. Grocery chains, drugstores, and even cleaning product brands are being consolidated. By owning multiple brands within the same category, these firms can manipulate pricing, negotiate better deals with suppliers, and push smaller competitors out of business. You may notice rising prices or fewer options on the shelves. This isn't just inflation. It's market concentration at work. Even education has seen a surge in private equity interest. Tutoring companies, online learning platforms, and for-profit colleges are being bought and scaled for profit. While this brings efficiency and resources, it also prioritizes revenue over outcomes. Students face skyrocketing tuition fees, aggressive marketing tactics, and limited transparency. Knowledge, something we assume is a public good, is being treated as a commodity to be flipped for profit. So why is this happening so quickly? There are several factors. First, low interest rates over the past decade have made borrowing cheap, allowing private equity firms to take on massive debt to fund acquisitions. Second, the drive for high returns in a low-yield world has pushed investors toward alternative assets like private equity, giving firms even more capital to buy businesses. Third, technology and data have made it easier to identify underperforming companies that can be optimized for profit. The net result is an economy increasingly shaped by a few powerful actors. Unlike traditional shareholders, private equity owners don't answer to the public. Their focus is on maximizing returns within a 5 to 7 year window, often at the expense of employees, consumers, and communities. And once a company has been sold or merged, the cycle begins again, sometimes leaving chaos behind. But it's not all doom and gloom. Understanding the power of private equity also gives us a chance to adapt and make informed choices. As consumers, we can pay attention to ownership patterns, support businesses with transparent practices, and advocate for regulations that prioritize public interest over short-term profits. As employees, recognizing the influence of private equity can help us negotiate better contracts and plan for job stability in industries prone to acquisitions. The key takeaway is this: private equity is no longer a distant player in the economy. It is a central force, quietly shaping the cost of living, the quality of essential services, and even the opportunities available to future generations. From the coffee you drink in the morning to the home you hope to own, private equity's fingerprints are everywhere. And while it may feel overwhelming, awareness is the first step toward understanding and, ultimately, influence. By recognizing who owns what, how decisions are made, and who benefits, we gain the power to question, challenge, and make smarter choices. After all, the economy may be moving fast, but the consumer, armed with knowledge, can still make decisions that matter. So next time you swipe your card at a store, book a doctor's appointment, or check rent listings online, remember this: a small group of investors may be pulling the strings behind the scenes. And the more we see, the more we understand, the better we can navigate a world where private equity is buying everything you own. If this video opened your eyes to just how much private equity is shaping your life, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our deep dives into the hidden forces driving the global economy. And let us know in the comments, which industries surprised you the most that are under private equity control? We'll be exploring them in future videos.